Jack Rose is a hell of a football coach. Much better than a speaker. He was a football coach. No, I love Jack, believe me. He did a great job for us that last year there at Massillon. And, you know, we share a fraternity of coaching together at Massillon. Being a head coach at Massillon, one of the greatest fraternities I think we share is the fact that we were both hired by a legendary superintendent, Al Paris. I'm not sure if Al's here today or not, but I think most of you know Al Paris, and I don't think, Jack, we could have ever worked for a better guy than Al Paris. We also share some great boosters that are here, and were always supportive. Raleigh Layfield, I saw come up a few minutes ago, that just supported our teams, supported our families, and really took care of the coaches when we spent that time in Massillon as a coach. I'm always honored and humbled to be here. Not at all offended that the first 4 guys you asked for this first meeting turned you down, and that I was the last guy on the calling list that you could get a hold of. But I mentioned to my wife of 51 years last night, I said, I mean, who am I to speak at that Hall of Fame luncheon with all those speakers they have come in from all over? And she said, nobody. She did. I said, well, I don't think I'm worthy. And she said, you're not. So Jack, he knows Diane. So I say a prayer every day where I do ask God to make me worthy of the opportunities He's given me as a speaker, as a coach, as a father, a husband, a friend. Prayer is a powerful tool. Always answered, not necessarily answered how we think it might be answered or hope that it'll be answered. I use the example of the guy who's on the big grizzly bear hunt, and he goes to shoot the grizzly bear, and it doesn't faze him, goes to shoot him again, and the rifle jams, so he throws the rifle at the bear, and that doesn't slow him down, so he turns around, he runs as fast as he can run. The faster he runs, the closer that bear was getting to him. He came to a cliff, he looked straight down. So he dropped on his knees, he said, "Dear Lord, make this a Christian bear." And he looked over, and there was that bear, had its paws folded, "Bless this food to the nourishment of my body." Just, you've all heard it before, I'm sure. Simon & Schuster, the publishers out of New York, launched the marketing of this book just 6 days ago on September 2nd, which is kind of cool. RJ called me to speak. It was great timing because I was really looking for the opportunity to get out in front of a group and share the book and promote the book. And he said, yeah, sure, go ahead and do that. So I do have a videographer here who works with Hustle, a marketing company that goes out and promotes and does social media, promoting high school teams and other sporting events. And Wes is going to go ahead. He has me mic'd up, and he's going to put all this on tape. My goal is to have a video of talking about the book, promoting the book, that we can put on the book website and hopefully sell some more books and get opportunity to speak more often. Now, guys, listen. I'm paying for this video program, okay? So I really need you to set up, get on the edge of your seats, keep your eyes open, not leave early, act like you're interested, act like you're being inspired, and if you want to give a standing ovation at the end, I'm okay with that, all right? Feel free to. The book is titled The Spirit of the Team. Successful CEOs and coaches share their strategies for achieving excellence. The book comes from, idea for the book comes from a book I had called The Edge. I don't know how many coaches in here might have had that book. Howard Ferguson, a wrestling coach at St. Ed's High School in Cleveland, won multiple championships, and he wrote a book with tons of motivational messages and motivational quotes and stories about so many folks that were inspiring. And I think every coach in America had that book on their desk and would go to as a reference. And I was hoping to try to do something similar with this book, full of motivational messages, motivational quotes. I did a little bit different, and a lot of the folks that Howard Ferguson talked about in his book were maybe guys he didn't know. They were just superstars, celebrities, heroes in the world of sport and business. And what I wanted to try to do is I wanted to try to promote different players that I had coached, or coaches I had worked with, or businessmen that had worked with me, and take and talk and feature a story of each one of them before each chapter. But it had to be guys I had a relationship with, because I wanted to interview them and I wanted to get their real story. And a lot of times their stories were personal, and they were willing to share that with us as we put the book together. The stories were always inspirational. There was never any doubt about that. And as I put the book together, and it focused more on team building than other motivational aspects, and it simply became a step-by-step, tried and true plan on how you build team excellence. And the stories of all the coaches and players and business people that I had been a part of in my coaching career really validate the lessons in those building blocks. Players who went on to become All-Americans, All-Pros, future NFL Hall of Famers, Heisman Trophy winners, like guys like Charlie Fry and Eddie George and Jason Taylor, and, Orlando Pace and Corey Stringer, guys I had a chance to coach, and their stories were unbelievable and what they went on to do. Even coaches at all levels that I had a chance to talk to, from the high school level, talking to Nate Moore and recapturing that 23 championship, and when he's National Coach of the Year. Larry Karras, Division III. We talk about Larry. No one's ever won more football games at any level than Larry Karras. Talk about Luke Fickell. Luke was a coach with me at Akron. I coached him when he was at Ohio State, and obviously what he's been able to do and what he's doing now as a Power 5 coach at Wisconsin. And even Matt LaFleur. Believe it or not, Matt LaFleur was on my staff 10 years ago at Ashland. 10 years later, he's having a heck of a career as the head football coach of the Green Bay Packers. Actually had a pretty big win last night, I think, against the Lions, if you had a chance to watch any of that. So those are some of the guys that I really feature in the book before each chapter. And even some of the CEOs. There's a Carl Johnson, young man that played for me at Gallion on a state championship. Now he runs a private equity company. His story's incredible. There's a guy by the name of Matt Collig. You guys follow Leaf Filter, CEO at all. A guy does more advertising, I think, than anybody else. And he's a great philanthropist in Northeast Ohio. Matt Collig was the quarterback when I went to Akron after I replaced Jerry Faust. And he was Jerry Faust's starting quarterback. I go, I'm not starting this guy. I'm going to bring in some hot shot to play, which was a mistake because we couldn't win a game with the guys I brought in. And I tried to run Matt off. I did everything I could possibly do to try to run Matt off. And he was just determined he wasn't going to quit. He was only one of two seniors didn't quit the team. And stayed, was a scout team quarterback my first year. But when you listen to his story, you can understand why he's had the success in life that he's had. Business success that he's had since he left as graduated from the University of Akron. A guy by the name of Dan Niss, who's president of Charter Next Generation. His son played for me at Ashland, and he built us an indoor facility, which is pretty cool. A story about Dwight Shaw. I don't know how many people followed Dwight Shaw. He's the largest home builder in America. He was the founder of NVR, and Dwight Shaw played at Ashland, and in just the short time I was at Ashland, 19 years, he donated over $25 million to the university, including building us a stadium. So those are the stories of people that get featured before each chapter as we start going through those building blocks to team excellence. What I also like to do is tell some stories in the book that I shared with these players and coaches and businessmen. Some of the stories are tough. Some of these stories are really difficult, filled full of heartbreak. I mean, that loss at Ignatius, that's a tough story to talk about. I can tell you a game Charlie Fry was quarterbacking for him. We're beating Miami. We go up by 1 point with 15 seconds left to go. We kick the ball to him, and 2 plays later, Ben Roethlisberger throws a 65-yard Hail Mary to beat us. Those are tough times that you talk about. And not just some of the games. I talk about some of the heartbreak. I experienced it. We went through COVID. Can you imagine as a football coach going through COVID and having your staff furloughed and having your season canceled and having to try to fight through that and keep everything together? Unbelievable, difficult times. Maybe the toughest thing for me in coaching at all was going through the story when I was fired at Akron. We just won 7 games at the MAC at Akron. Now, believe me, 7 games in the MAC at Akron is pretty good. And you get fired. But with that heartbreak, there were also some times of euphoria. The Massillon went over for Kinley my first year, where we, got into overtime and won the game and built a new high school. The win over Ohio State with Luke Fickell was John Cooper's first win against Michigan. What a great win that was. The win we had, I was coaching at Akron against Navy, and we're down 31 points at Navy for homecoming. Roger Staubach brings the game ball, and we have no chance. And we come back and score 36 of the next points and beat them at the end of the game for actually give us our 6th win, our first winning season. But those are the kind of stories I like to tell in the book, and they really do validate what we're talking about. In a lot of the podcasts I went out to recently, they really just asked me 3 questions. about the book, and pretty consistently tried to answer through guys. So the first question is, why'd you write the book? Why now? The second question, why this book? And the third question, who's it for? Who's going to read it? Why would they read it? Well, the first question is, why did I write the book now? It's because I had time. I retired, and after a 45-year coaching career, you have a void in your life of some time. Coaching takes up a lot of time. And so I really got tired of cleaning and sweeping the garage, going out and playing bogey golf every day, and figured I needed to do something else. I mean, it wasn't as bad as one of my coaching buddies. He called me up and he said, "Hey, Coach," he said, "do you notice when you quit coaching, your phone quits ringing?" I go, "So we as coaches, we're always on the phone, talking to our players, talking to recruits, talking to businessmen, boosters, you name it, alumni." I said, "Yeah, I noticed that." He said, "I was so bored," he said, one day, and so desperate. He said, "I started calling the telemarketers back." I wasn't quite to that level, probably just, as Ron knows, I do like to hunt, I do like to fish, I do like to golf, and I have 12 grandkids. So it wasn't like we've ever been bored, but even with the opportunity to live on a boat and golf every day, there was still that void that was there. And I've always been a guy who tried to like new experience and the challenge of new experience, and a challenge that would really make you be at your best at whatever you would do. That's why I think part of the reason that I coached 8 different places. I moved our family 8 different times into 8 different communities with 8 different schools and 8 different sets of friends. My mother-in-law was convinced I couldn't keep a job. Seriously. Thank goodness Diane was a great coach's wife, because in coaching, there are only 2 types of wives. Coaches' wives and ex-wives. And she was a very, very good coaching wife. But I wanted to write this book, and I knew it'd be really hard to get that done, but at the same time, I'd had some experience. In 1999, at Akron, I wrote a book called Blood, Sweat, and Championship, and it was kind of a team guide to winning. It was really focused just towards the Akron Zips and the alumni and that team and those players, and we kind of used that as a basis to go on and literally win a championship in 2000. We used the principles we put together in that book. And it was good. It was good to be able to do that. Blood, Sweat, and Championship was a chant we took from Andre McCray, our team captain, who had played for Coach Flossie at Bookto, and it was one that kind of stuck with the team and really carried us on to that successful season we had. But I wanted to write the book. I was convinced I was going to do that, even though I knew it was going to be hard to do. There was no question about that. 70%, I'd read this, 70% of guys, people who start to write a book, either they don't finish, or they don't get published, or they lose money. My wife was convinced I'd hit one of those 3 goals, that was what's going to happen. But fortunately, we got through the whole thing. We haven't made any money yet, but we'll find out what happens. So I wanted to write this book, and again, I knew I was getting a hard time from everybody. I had one buddy who jabbed me. He's like, "Hey, Coach, don't you have to read a book before you write one?" I said, "Come on, give me a break here. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay." So. But anyhow, that's why now. The next question is why this book, and I started writing this book 45 years ago, but it wasn't until 2016 when I attended the CEO Coach of the Year banquet in New York City that was put on by the AFCA. I was president in 2016, and our honoree was David Cody, who was the CEO of Honeywell. And he brought along a young man I knew very well, Carl Johnson, who was that quarterback for me at Guyan, and he had become his president of industrial safety at Honeywell. And Cody had told me how Carl had shared with him the influence I'd had on him as a football coach in Guyan. Maybe I've told you this story here before, but Carl was one of those guys who really didn't have a chance in life without football. I remember David Cody told me at that time that Carl has really become his Tom Brady in his business at Honeywell. And I said, well, he was my Tom Brady in the state championship game. And actually now, chapter 1, we stole that, is Finding Your Tom Brady, with Carl featured in that story. But Carl had a tough life. And again, he didn't have a chance to make it without football. But he had told Cody that I'd been there for him and believed in him and helped him get to where he was at that time with his business career and his football opportunity, his educational opportunity. So it's a great story. But most importantly, made me realize the purpose that I coach. I've been asked a bunch of times in my coaching career, why? What's your greatest legacy? What validates you as a coach? Well, was it a championship at Ohio State or a championship at Akron or the number of wins that you have? What is that really validates you? And I said, no, it was believing in this kid when no one else did. And we as coaches coach to be dealers of hope and to use our power of influence to try to help the youngsters, go as far as they possibly can go. And that's what we wanted to do. I've had 8 jobs, but at 6 jobs, I was the head football coach. And I was hired to go in and turn things around and win. And in all 6 schools, the challenges were different, but the messages was the same. And it was basically, you were able to walk in there and go to those team meetings and say, man, we're going to be winners. You're going to win both on and off the field. And we're going to achieve excellence. And the motivation for each team was always the same. We always motivated them to try to be the best they could possibly be and reach that highest level of excellence. Players, none of us are going to be ultimately motivated by fame and fortune. There's a lot of money in college football today. I think you all know this. Some people think too much, and I happen to agree with them. But when you try to sell motivation is as simple as trying to get from this point to this point. And what you have to do as a coach is you have to convince that athlete that all the work and all the effort and all the time is worthwhile to get to that point. And a lot of times coaches don't do that. They don't sell the vision and the value of where you want to end up. And if you do that with, again, motivation is really, that's what, I have a chapter written on Motivation 101 and talking about. And that's the only last thing I'll say in this section is that it's not just about winning and being successful. It's about winning with excellence. And there's a true difference, there's a true distinction. To win without excellence, it's short term and it's external and it can be lost on the team or the individual or the community. But when you win with excellence, you become a team of significance, a team of purpose, a team of destiny, a team that becomes a life lesson. And that's the reason I wrote the book. And finally, can I finish with this? We got time to do this? Okay, I finished with this. Why would you read the book? If you're not a football coach or a CEO, what's in this book for me? Well, I would say it this way. First of all, I would think that all of us here are part of a team. And one team or another, or one place or another. And all of us here, I think, would like to see that team, whether it's this club or whatever team, function as well as we possibly can. I could say it a little better, but the guy who said it the best, can you hold this up for a second? Yeah. Can you hold this for me? Is Jim Tressel. You guys know who Jim Tressel is? Jim Tressel is the lieutenant governor, obviously, not just former Ohio State football coach or president of Youngstown State University, but he's the lieutenant governor of Ohio. So he wrote the foreword, and so here's that reason why this book might be for you. Here's what Coach Tressel said in the book. Whether you're building your team at home, your business, your nonprofit organization, your sports team, your community, you're serving your great nation, the lessons shared in the spirit of the team will be extremely valuable as you seek to reach your full potential. So if you want to be a part of a team, and most of you are, and you want to reach your full potential, the lessons you can learn in this book about being part of a team or leading a team would be valuable to anyone. The other thing that I believe in the book that's really important is that I think not only do we talk about team excellence in athletics, but there's also a thing just as important, and that is excellence in life and the life lessons of excellence. So the last chapter in the book is titled The Final Word, A Lasting Legacy. And I share the story of a women's basketball coach from Ashland University. I think she spoke here in a pastor named Sue Ramsey. Sue Ramsey won the National Division II Girls National Championship at Ashland, Ohio. Now talk about a powerful legacy at Ashland University. Powerful legacy. Her assistant coach, Robin Freilich, maybe Robin spoke here also, went on to win a national championship after Sue retired. Robin went on then to go to Bowling Green and win a MAC championship. Now she's the women's basketball coach at Michigan State. And replacing Robin Freilich was Carrie Doherty. Carrie Doherty played for Sue and coached for Robin, and she won a national championship at Ashland University in Division II. That's legacy, and that's powerful. But Sue would agree if I would tell you this. Sue's legacy has never been about winning a national championship. Her legacy has always been the strength, her spiritual strength, and her ability to truly be dedicated to all those people around her. That's legacy. I get a chance to tell that story about Sue Ramsey at the end of the book. In my chapter on legacy, I also get to tell the story about a guy I'm sure many of you are familiar with, Judd Logan from North Canton. The family there's a great family, athletic family, unbelievable people. Judd was a track and field coach for a lot of the years I was at Ashland, and he passed away, unfortunately, in 2003. Judd had gone to the Olympics as a hammer thrower. Judd had won national championships at indoor and outdoor track and field. But when I read the story of Judd in the repository after he had passed, they said his legacy wasn't the Olympics as a hammer thrower. His legacy wasn't the national championships. Judd's legacy was that of a light giver. And his legacy was that the next coach would be that person who would pass that torch on to become that person who recognized athletes and were there for athletes and supported athletes. That's the story of a lasting legacy. See, legacy in our life will never, ever be about, and this is how I finish the book, will never, ever be about fame or fortune, how much money we make. I really think legacy, more than anything else, is about relationships. Specifically, the relationships you have with family and friends. I honestly believe when we're at those gates, pearly gates, and trying to get into heaven, and St. Peter's asking questions, he's not going to ask about how many rings we have, or how big a car we own, or how much money we have. But I do believe he'll ask us, what kind of coach were you? What kind of friend were you? What kind of father were you? What kind of husband were you? What kind of relationships did you work at to really gain significance? Legacy is all that we can take with us when we leave this world is those things that we give to others. And it's really important that we invest in things that's going to be here long after we're not here. That's the importance of legacy. That's what I think we all want to have in life. If we live a life of excellence, just like become a team of excellence, it's significant in its purpose that you have in life that you don't have otherwise without that excellence, without that, you don't have the legacy, I think, in life you'd really like to have, or as a team or as a person in life. And that's the last part of the chapter. Regardless of what philosophy or what religion you follow in life, at the core of every philosophy and every religion is the belief that the number one cause in life is for us to serve others, for us to be there for others, for us to help others. That's truly legacy. Let me finish with this here. The very last chapter, the very last paragraph in that chapter on lasting legacy, I say this: there's little difference in achieving team excellence and excellence in life. After all, we're all on the same team, God's team. For every team and every individual, each day is a new day. The importance of each new day and the choices we make within it will determine our excellence in life. And then that last motivational message I leave in the book after so many others, thanks man, is the beginning of a new day. Maybe you've heard this before. It really sums it all up. This is the beginning of a new day. God has given me this day to use as I will. I can waste it or use it for good. What I do today is very important because I'm exchanging a day in my life for it. When tomorrow comes, this day will be gone forever, leaving something in its place I traded for it. I want it to be gain, not loss, good, not evil, success, not failure, and I shall not forget the price I paid for it. This is the beginning of a new day. I challenge you all to find a life of lasting legacy and a life of excellence. And I will have these books in the back later. Be more than glad to sign, sell, if you're interested in picking up a book. If not, if you want to get it some other time, you can get on Amazon, Lee Owens, Spirit of a Team, and you can pick one up. I also want to remind everyone in here that on September 23rd, I believe is the date, the Massillon Museum will be having a book signing. A lot of the ex-Massillon coaches will be there. Coach Moore will be there. And we're going to have a chance to talk about some of the Massillon stories that we have in the book. That's on September 23rd, Wednesday night.